The reality we live in can be a very strange place. Most of the time, fact being stranger than fiction. How will we ever start to understand this reality we live in unless we question everything? Join me and a guest as we unravel the mysteries of this reality, one topic at a time. This is Inquiries of Our Reality with Shayn Jones.
What is up, Inquirers, and welcome to the expanse of deep open-minded conversation. I'm the one they call Shane, and today for you guys, I have a fascinating conversation diving into the paranormal, and of course a plethora of this paranormal investigator's personal experiences. And of course, in the Inquiries of Our Reality way, we tend to get off topic at a few spots, but with that off-topic conversation, I know that a lot of people have been talking about the drone thing lately. It's been flooded everywhere, all over social media, all over the podcast. It's been something that I didn't necessarily want to hit because of just how vast it is as far as all these conspiracy theories and everything on it, but it'll probably be the only time that I talk about it on the show. But I, of course, wanted to at least make a quick statement on what I believe that it might be, and it isn't as extraterrestrial or weird as you guys might think it is, but I guess you guys will just have to listen to the episode and get towards the end to get my opinion on that, of course. But before we get into today's episode, just a couple of quick things I wanted to address before we get into the show today. I, of course, am still trying to put it together, that investigation team for the Michigan/Metro Detroit area. You don't necessarily have to be from the area, but if you're willing to make the drive at least once a month to be able to do some type of monthly investigation, I'm definitely interested in having you on the team. I want to make sure that this is a very diverse team as far as what people's backgrounds are and what they dive into, because I don't just want to dive into one phenomenon. I want to be able to go on SQUATCH hikes. I want to be able to do some paranormal investigating. I want to be able to check out weird phenomenon and, of course, UFO sightings and all that kind of fun stuff. And in turn, I want to be able to create some video content with it to upload onto YouTube. If it seems like something you guys might be interested in, you guys can go down into the show description, and there is a Google form you guys can fill out. And I will be getting back to people in the next few weeks once I get a little bit more banked up as far as that stuff goes. And on the other side, still trying to expand the variety of topics that we talk about on the show. So if you have something that you might want to come on the show and talk about that hasn't been addressed on the show, or you have a totally different opinion on something that may have been addressed on the show, I don't care if it's something in the conspiracy realm, I don't care if it's in the spiritual realm, the occult realm, any open-minded fringe topic, I am more than open to have on the show. And I want to make sure that, again, we expand what we talk about on the show, because I want to make sure there's a little bit of something for everybody as far as Inquiries of Our Reality goes. But before we get into the show, just a quick message. This podcast has a strong focus on community engagement, so I encourage all listeners to share their own experiences and research on the show. That said, if anyone would like to be a guest on the show, or if you have an encounter or experience that you'd like to share on the show or possibly have me investigate, you guys can email me at inquiriesofourrealitypodcast@outlook.com, or you guys can get a hold of me through the hotline. You guys can text, call, or leave a voicemail over there, and that number is 313-364-1551. And every single thing that I mention is all available in the link tree, which is available down in the show description. And with that, let's get into the show. Please welcome to the show, for his first appearance, Shawn Tyree of Afterlife Paranormal. How's it going today, man?
Not much. How about yourself?
Not too bad, man. Absolute pleasure to finally get you on the show after getting to kind of meet for at least a few minutes back in October at Snarly Owl's Cryptid Halloween 3. And I always have to give a shout out to Dave whenever I get an opportunity to, because Dave's just one of the best.
Oh, he is. Definitely.
So I know that we only got to talk for a few minutes, of course, but just from the few minutes we talked, we kind of talked a little bit about some paranormal investigating you guys do, and I figured I should just get you on the show, talk about all your experiences, what exactly got you into it. So I guess a good spot to always start to kind of give a little bit of people a background of, why you got into the things you do. Why don't you let them know a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what Afterlife Paranormal is?
So Afterlife Paranormal came from, I would like to say, I'm going to say forced to watch Ghost Hunters as a kid. I think a lot of people have. They're into the paranormal and ghosts and stuff. Good old Rooters and Taff and stuff. But it roots from I everybody's curious about life after death, so I've been curious. Every religion has their own format. From Christianity's heaven and hell, other places. It stems from that, and it's just finding life or giving people more of a glimpse. Like it doesn't end after you die. There's something after it, and we as paranormal investigators are trying to figure out what that is or who are we communicating with.
So that's kind of a different outcome, honestly, because a lot of the time people get into paranormal investigating, because they want to communicate with the dead. They've had like a past family member, but it's kind of nice and refreshing to hear somebody say that you came about getting into paranormal investigating through just having a fascination with the afterlife, what happens on the other side, because usually it's a lot less optimistic sounding than that when it comes to like why people got into paranormal investigating.
Yeah.
But at least for you, where did it kind of start at? Did you have like paranormal experiences as a kid where it got you to kind of push into actually investigating? Because, of course people have a fascination and that's when they end up watching these shows, getting into everything from that. But it's usually something that ends up pushing you that little bit over the edge that makes it so that you want to actually get out and do this kind of stuff yourself.
I would say it stemmed from my parents. My parents always been to like cryptids and the unknown. My mom definitely is more on the ghost side than the cryptid side. So like growing up, watching Taps, watching Ghost Adventures, all this stuff kind of stemming. And then we finally moved up north, where I'm originally from, South Carolina. So we moved up to PA, South Central area, and we're like 40 minutes to an hour away from Gettysburg. And for my birthday, she took me to go ghost hunting, and I fell in love with it. Been to Gettysburg. I go to Gettysburg all the time. It's an unhealthy habit.
Dude, I have yet to actually go there. I've been about an hour away from it. Same with DC, and it's one of those things that I'm like, let's just take that extra hour. My girlfriend doesn't want to do it at the time, and I'm always kick myself in the ass for it because I still have not seen Gettysburg as much as I'd love to.
Gettysburg's beautiful. No matter what time of the year you go to it, it's especially fun during reenactment time. There's people walking around Union, Confederate like costumes. You hear cannon fire out in the background because they're reenacting the battles that happen.
See, I don't know if where you live at exactly now, because we met in a meeting in West Virginia, but you kind of mentioned that your mom or whatever is into like the cryptids and stuff a bit. As far as like your investigation team goes, I know people kind of have different ideas on what paranormal is. Some people kind of accompany it with extraterrestrials, Sasquatch, all this type of stuff. Some people specifically just ghosts, but like at least for you guys, since you've been around the West Virginia area, have you guys got into at least somewhat of the cryptid side as far as like the snarly yow or anything like that, like the ghostly black dogs?
I look at paranormal as anything that's unknown. So like I love cryptids. My that's what he's into. He's a Bigfoot guy, and my mom's more on the ghost side. But we both kind of like we understand the stories. We know what they are, but we haven't really done much. My dad keeps getting on me about, hey, let's go Bigfoot hunting, but I'm kind of like, well, we're out in the woods. Not while I'm investigating, I'm locked in a building. Like, I feel a little more. And there might be not nowhere to run, but at least I know what's running at me. I can probably just run through it and not get stopped. Hopefully.
Hey, I mean, honestly, the worst that it seems that's happened from a ghost, as much as everybody's scared of them, is like people will get scratched, all that kind of stuff. But like nobody's getting killed from a ghost, or at least I haven't found any record of anybody getting killed from a ghost, unless they've been like possessed or something like that. But like, everybody's scared of the paranormal, but realistically, it's like I'd be more scared of a squatch than I would be a ghost,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Hold on tight, everyone. Inquiries of Our Reality will be right back after this brief commercial break. But if you don't mind taking a second to follow Inquiries of Our Reality on Instagram and Facebook, and Open Minds Media on YouTube and TikTok, I'd greatly appreciate it. And feel free to spark up a conversation. I love getting to know you guys. And now back to the show.
There's a lot of stories out there, people that are just, it's funny. I mean, I think I've heard of one. It's called the Bell Witch. Not in the Maryland woods in the forest, but I think it's called the Bell Witch, not the Blair Witch, but it's in Tennessee. I have to look more into that one, but I've just heard a glimpse of it going through like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, that's the one that there's like two parts to the story, and I'm always asking people what the connection is to like this cave, and everybody has like different theories and everything behind it. But like originally, the first one was supposed to be like one of the first like American poltergeist stories, where like this family had this disembodied voice that was like messing with them and all this kind of stuff, and then it continued on to turning into this thing about like the cave and like the Bell Witch Cave, and if you take a rock from there, people have bad luck, and it's that usual kind of trope with these paranormal places that you can't take any items from them, otherwise you're haunted. But yeah, always whenever I ask people about the connection to the cave, there's like different theories about it, but a lot of people kind of theorize that basically that the witch ended up was like living in this cave and was somehow messing with the family like from this cave. And then on the other side of it too, I've heard people say that like they basically came onto this land and like pushed this woman off her land and everything, and basically she just started messing with them and like haunting them and ended up moving into this cave and died in this cave. So I've had so many different like mixed stories of it, but I feel like it's one of those things that it's like what was that, late 18 or early 1800s, late 1700s, somewhere in that area, that it's like it's in that weird spot where it like mixes with like folklore and history, where I don't think you'll ever be able to like fully separate it and actually fully figure out what's the expanded events that turn into like a fish story and what's like the actual literal things that happen. Because even like within like documenting it through like the courts coming, like the priest coming, all that, they still are kind of viewing it from the more paranormal lens, where you kind of need like the mixture of having like the very literal minded lens and then like the biblically minded lenses, so you can kind of see like the paranormal side and what sides were probably a little bit more literal than what people expected, Which
that's one thing about like just doing paranormal. I love history, so that's another thing with it. I just love history, so I love Gettysburg. I would love to live there. I would love to live like on the field, just in the middle of nowhere if I could for a little bit. But that's another thing. I just love finding things out that people haven't figured out yet, or connecting the dots from what history's told us already to who we might be talking to.
So do you try to do like your background research on figuring out like who might be there before you actually go there, or do you kind of try to do it while you're there? Because I've had a little bit of both sides when I ask people, because some people kind of like to see if they can get the information from the spirits to see, and then they'll like later on go on and see if they can connect stuff. And then on the other side, there's some people that go in that are very historically minded, and they'll kind of collect any piece of information they can and then go in and investigate. But I know everybody kind of has their different methods. So I'm terrible for this. Not like I've seen I've watched videos and other people investigate locations. I don't have the best memory when it comes to it. I remember little bits and pieces people repeat about locations, but like I don't do it beforehand. I might go around and look or remember a story, the person giving us a tour told us, but like I rarely do the research. I need to get better at that. I need to hold myself accountable for that. But I try doing it afterwards. Like if I hear a name over the whole night, or like on the way home, or like at the hotel room, I'll just kind of research it real quick before I go to bed. I mean, it kind of brings some more validity to the situation for certain people, because it's like, if you're the one actually investigating it and you didn't look up any information beforehand and you start collecting these names, then you actually start looking it up and you start finding all these names, then it like connects the dots for you a bit more. But it's like on the other side, regardless of which way you do it, if you start trying to make claims like that, there's always going to be those people that try to debunk stuff and say, oh, you knew the information beforehand, blah, 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 blah. So it's like a matter of just preference on whether you're doing it for yourself or you want to come in like fully educated on stuff. But I mean, even on the other side, man, I kind of wonder if you kind of go into a location like fully knowing every piece of the history about it, that if there is something else different there and it is aware of the fact that you know the history of the building, then if you can't see this thing, there's a good chance that it's going to start telling you, oh, I'm that person. And you may never actually figure out what exactly it is, because it seems like when you're doing a lot of these paranormal investigations, however people kind of want to, whatever category people want to put them in, it seems like, you may not always bump into demons like every, ghost show and all that kind of says, but this trickster element seems to be a common thing. And whether it's like curiosity of the souls of people that have passed already, or there's something a little bit more elemental, like there's something to trickster entities being a thing. So it's like, even when you're paranormal investigating using a Ouija board, it's like, you can't take these things at their word that they are what they say they are.
Yeah.
But kind of diving into some of your investigations, you mentioned Gettysburg a couple times. Have you had a chance to actually go there and investigate anything yourself, or have you just been able to just kind of do the tours and stuff?
So I've done the public investigations through the Gettysburg Ghost Tours, the ones with the black cattle out in the sign. They're like, I can't remember the exact road they're on, but I've gone through them the whole time. I've yet to actually investigate the Jenny Wade or the orphanage.
Say
But I've done good.
Sorry, I was gonna say the orphanage should be a really cool one to check out.
Yeah. The orphanage would be a cool one to check out. That one's got creepy history. I did technically investigate the Jenny Wade birth house where she was born at because they had their haunted museum there, and I investigated their museum when it was still at the birth house.
What did anything end up happening on that investigation by chance?
That one, I like to bring people with me, especially people from like work. So I'll talk them into it, and this one guy brought his kid with him, but they had a cursed object room, and we put the spirit box in there. And I went to go walk in the curtain, and I started asking questions, and a female's voice, clear as day, I hear, "Get out." So I walked out, and I'm like, I'm not sure if that was for me. So I went back in and said, "Are you talking to me?" And same voice, "Get out." I'm like, I know when I'm not needed.
Sometimes you just got to listen to them.
Yeah, my buddy's in there. He's just taking photos. He's just taking photos, and he's just smiling at me, just taking photos.
Which, I mean, apparently she wasn't talking to him. She liked him. She liked the attention.
Yep.
She's like, take pictures of me like that chick from Titanic. And I guess kind of diving into some more of your experiences, man. I'd love to hear about some of your most memorable experiences as far as paranormal investigating goes.
Trying to think of some that don't. I mean, I've had a couple that happen outside of Gettysburg, but there's one or two in Gettysburg that happened that like I still can't explain. Or one I was kind of happy that it happened. The other one I was kind of like, what? But the first one was they have a location called the Murder House. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's also called a Debbie Harmon house. Lady named Debbie was shot and killed there. It was over, the husband. They were out drinking. Husband lost a fight. He went to go back and get his gun. Used on these guys because they were kind of hitting on, Debbie. And well, from his story is that she pulled down on the gun and the gun went off. First off, why was there a bullet in the chamber and stuff like that? But sadly, she lost her life. She didn't. They took her to Gettysburg. Gettysburg wasn't what it was, so they went to go take her to York. And York, by the time on the way there, she passed. Well, I've gone there many times, many times. That's my favorite location to go to. And I've always tried to get her to say my name. And I had the Spirit Talker app, and I know how some people feel about the apps. They're kind of iffy about them, but my name ended up coming out. Sadly, it wasn't spelled the right way. It was Sean, says Shawn. But just that made me so happy because I've been trying for so long. I've been doing it for about 4 years now. And just getting that, and I'm like, yes.
I mean, I always like to go over people's preferences as far as equipment goes, too, because like you were kind of saying, everybody has like different opinions on the spirit boxes, which ones are the best, which ones you should use. But I mean, at least with stuff like that, I mean, people could say they're random generators, but like Shawn isn't that common of a name. So it's like, regardless of how it's spelt, I mean, it's not like these spirits know which way it's spelt, like they may pick up the name, but they may not know the exact letters of the name, but it's just like, it could be coincidence. But on the other side, it's like, if it was going to throw out random names like that, it'd be stuff like Joe, Bill, Shawn, not Shawn. See, I got that one in my head now because I was just saying that, but yeah, Shawn isn't that common of a name that it would throw out. So, I mean, it still makes you kind of question it, but yeah, I'd like to jump into like some of your preferred equipment as far as like when you go out and investigate.
I like the cat balls. I did have one on my desk, but I think it fell. But I like the little cat balls. They're nice. I also like using. Oh, speak of the devil. There we go. Right between the Scare Bear's legs. But just for people that might not know, you press the button and it lights up. And the theory is that you can leave this alone, and the spirits are able to use this without even having to move it, make it light up. Since there's known to be mess with electronics and stuff without having to move anything. Also, like a REM pod, I picked up recently a music box. I love that thing. It plays the theme for Michael Myers from Halloween. Um, I got it's called a flux, and it's like a little pyramid. One side's red, one side's green for yes and no, and you could turn it up to, I think it's 30 feet maybe or 20, but it's in like a cone. So it like detects motion. That's mostly what I use it for. I'll put it between two doorways, and whichever side goes off, I go and kind of sit in that room for a little bit, kind of bounce back and forth. And the spirit, I got the Ovilus. I like the Ovilus and the Spirit Talker app.
And then the Spirit Talker app, are you one of those people that uses it like on your normal phone, or you purposely use like a phone that you have in like airplane mode when you use it?
So I have a phone that I had in like high school, the Samsung S8. So like that phone's like way outdated. Like it doesn't even have a SIM card in it, no nothing. So it's just strictly no service.
See, I feel like those are always the best. If you're going to use like the Spirit Box apps, you just can't be connected to the internet. If you put it on airplane mode and it's just pulling random words and stuff, then it's not using something to be able to like, use the microphone in the room to like pick up and start throwing names back or something like that, because it just wouldn't function properly. So I don't know, it just brings a lot more validity to it, to me at least, when people use like airplane mode or they use like a totally disconnected phone to use these apps.
Now I tested it out in multiple locations. I've even went back to same locations. I can have it not say a single word all night, and there'll be nights where it would just shoot off. So I'm like, is it actually working, or is it just a happenstance? I've had words relate. I've even used the Ovilus side by side. One will get one, the other one won't. Just to test my theory, whether it just is it just a fluke in the app? The app doesn't have to have service to work.
Do you have anybody that's like a medium or anything like that in your team by chance? Because I've heard of people kind of doing these things where they'll have like a medium that'll go into another room and then they'll use the spirit box and they'll like try to connect words and see if they end up using the same words, picking up the same words. I feel like almost every paranormal team, like they either have somebody that pops in or they already have like a medium that's part of the team.
So I'm technically solo, but my mom comes with me. She just just because she likes doing it, so I figure I bring her along because these are things I feel like she would like to do with me, or just in general because she loves the ghost stuff and all this. So I figure why not bring her? She's like, she helps me with the equipment. She helps me with like she does a lot of history beforehand than I do. Like she'll be watching videos. She's like, oh well, they caught this, caught that. Like she's been to Wildwood with me, and where else does she go with me? The Madison Seminary, she's been with me too.
Well, I guess it's a good opportunity to start being able to talk about some of these other locations, because you already have a couple there that sound like some pretty interesting locations. I'd love to hear about, I guess, some of your favorite places that you've gotten to investigate and what may have happened there.
So, one I want to go back to is Wildwood. I am getting to go back with another team here. I don't know when. We haven't picked a date yet, but I am going back to the Hinsdale house with them because they invited me out to go to the Hinsdale house this year in June, and they're planning on going back again for like 2 nights this time instead of one.
What's the backstory on that for anybody that may not be familiar?
So that one's got a ton of history on it. That one, it was in the 1970s. It was a failed exorcism on the house. The house was claiming to be demonic nature and the like issues. Like there's one room where flies just collect, or flies in the house during harsh winter, during all year round. There's also, they found I think when they did ground penetrating radar, they found a couple bodies from like the Pilgrim type era, and it's up in native land, so it's also native land. They also have a giving tree. There's also 2 brothers that used to rob stagecoaches nearby, and that like rumor is that they would bury people out there.
Oh, so this place has a lot of history in the land.
Yeah, there's a lot, and the big main thing that a lot of people like seem to get is like if they go outside, it's more native. Like I think four of us went outside, and when we went outside, I took my recorder or my camcorder out there with us, and the other guy had he had his actual audio recorder with him, and we were just sitting there, and then we just turned the light straight out because we hear kind of rustling, and they say no, you hear something whiz by our head, sound like an arrow, and then we turn the light on. There's a branch going up and down really fast. Because you can hear whatever it was move like real quick. As soon as the lights came on, like something happened.
So that makes you wonder if it's something that's like a little bit more like residual then at that point. Because it's like,
yeah.
Hold on, guys. We have to take a break to pay some bills. But if you don't like hearing the ads, then I have a solution for you. You can get ad-free and early access to this show and Bizarre Encounters with Shayn Orin on the Open Minds Media Patreon for just $1 a month. It's a great way to support the show and all the hard work behind it. And if you're interested in merch store discounts or video versions of the show, then there are a few other tiers with additional benefits with 7-day free trials available. And we are back, so let's hop right in. I'm kind of curious if like residual stuff will simply just pass through, or if it can be like semi-interactive. Because it seems like a lot of the time when people start talking about residual hauntings, it's like, stuff passing through walls. Maybe people feel like a cold breeze, but, they don't typically have like things getting pushed out of the way or anything like that. But, at the same time, when you start diving into this land stuff, I mean, it could go one of two ways. It could be definitely something that's an intelligent haunting that maybe want to keep you guys away. Or on the other side, maybe it was a residual haunting and it was just like an arrow that skimmed by at one point. But then it's like it interacting with the environment kind of makes you wonder just, residual hauntings, like what they could potentially be capable of if that particular case was one.
I think that location freaks me out the most because, like, you walk out of those woods, even during the day, you feel like you're being watched when you walk up to the giving tree. You just feel like eyes are staring at you, and it's daylight. It's the creepiest thing ever. And it's, like, in the middle of nowhere. So, like, you have to go down probably like 2 dirt roads to get down there, and it's like in the middle of the woods.
That native stuff too kind of brings like a whole other aspect to it, because usually the native stuff is linked in with like the ghostly black dogs, dogmen stuff, a bunch of other weird creature sightings. But these beings that seem to be like partially physical, partially spiritual. So it's like, as a paranormal investigator, you're talking about it a little bit earlier, it's like, how do you deal with that situation? Like if it's something ghostly, it's just going to move past you, might scratch you. That's like the worst of it. But if it's something that can go back and forth, or if it's something even to like the possibility of what people talk about with like a dog man protecting like this native land, it's like that brings like a whole other state of fear to the situation.
Oh, definitely. That one was creepy because we did go back inside not long after that. He did catch it making the sound like a thud, like it hit the ground itself. But I haven't got that from him. I've been meaning to message him about that, and I forgot all about it. But other than that, we were inside the house. You hear tapping on the window, like something's trying to get you to go outside. And I'm like, I'd rather stay inside the failed exorcism haunted house than out in the woods, if anything. Yeah, that was just my thought.
I'll say the woods, just in general, man. It's there's just something so much creepier about woods than like a decrepit old like abandoned house. I mean, your biggest fear in the house is maybe something collapsing on you, possibly. But like when you're out in the woods, it's like, not only do you have to deal with whatever paranormal situation you're dealing with, but there's also like real life predators out there. There's, the darkness of the woods in general, just having this whole different like creepy ambiance to it. And the fact that it's like half lit by the moon, so your eyes kind of play tricks on you and what you're kind of seeing off in the distance. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm a big squatcher, so like I go out there for like those types of reasons. But when it comes to like paranormal investigating in the woods, like even though again it's not anything necessarily like that physical unless you're investigating some native lands, like it's just, I would definitely do both, but I'd be a lot more creeped out to do an investigation in the woods, and that's coming from somebody who goes squatching out in the woods at night.
Yeah, because it's the unseen that fear adds to the fear aspect, because you can hear it walking up but you can't see it, so you don't know whether it is something kind of just waiting in the distance or there's nothing there at all.
The even creepier part to think about too is that the way a lot of these like Native American legends work is that if it's something awful, they don't speak about it. So it makes you wonder how much stuff could actually be out there that it's like, we only have the ones that we end up getting pulled. So it's like we only know of like a handful of these like Native American like deities. But, once you actually start like diving into it, or you start talking to somebody who's actually Native and they're actually willing to like tell you some of these stories, it's like it makes you wonder how much is out there that they are fully aware of that nobody hears these stories about because they just don't speak the name of it because they don't want to call it in.
Yeah. One of the people I know, I've been doing another event. That's where I met Dave at the WPA in Johnstown. They have a Supernatural Encrypted Expo. I think they just did it. This was their second year, and next year's their third. So like I started getting more into like wanting to put my name out there, wanting to get in to help people, or just talking to people, letting them know what I do, or if they have questions for me, I answer them or try to answer them best I can. Because this is somebody told me I talked to before said this is a pseudoscience. It's a science, but it's not as big as like discovering life on Mars or time travel, stuff like that. People that want to put their time towards other things that might have a benefit to us.
It's a hardly prove. It's a very hard to prove science. Like there's something to it if you're actually doing it, and you get little pieces fed to you where you keep on that bread trail. But it's so hard to like prove to other people that aren't in that exact situation, because you can have a million cameras, all this shit set up, and people are always gonna find some way to be like, oh, it's bullshit, even though it's like the most legitimate paranormal evidence you've ever had.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I have EVP from that murder house, and I'll play it. It's a recording of a recording, because I didn't have a recorder at that time, and they always have recorders out for people doing stream hunts, and you get all the evidence they catch back. And he had one. Me and this guy kept hearing something upstairs, so he took it, put it upstairs. We were also running a spirit box session at the same time. We're all downstairs. There's probably 5 or 6 of us downstairs, and he asked the question, is there anybody upstairs? I mean, the guy hears something in real time. Yeah. Or like it sounded like it was a female voice. We heard that. But the recording I have is a recording of a recording. So it's a double recorded audio. And so you hear the spirit box, and then the guy's voice is so faint, everybody's like, was that it? Was that it? I'm like, no, wait, give it time. It's at the end. And then you hear me say, that sounds so clear. And then it just cuts off. But
dude, I have such a hard time with that stuff anyways, because at least for me, I've learned it because I've had to do a few podcasts where it's all just like phone calls and I can't see the person. I have such a hard time differentiating sounds without having some type of visual to it that I have like such a hard time trying to like hear the playback in like these spirit boxes, because it's so like faint. You have to have like a special type of ear for that stuff, man.
Yep. Yeah. This one, I don't know how people don't hear it. Like I hear it clear as day. I don't know if it's just because I heard it in person. I know when to hear it, but like it's the loudest thing on that recorder is the person saying yeah. So like I don't understand where people don't hear it.
I mean, even stuff like that, though, if it's like just a quick yeah, like it's really easy to make out. But when you get into like the ones where it's like somebody saying like a whole sentence, it's like I almost have to run it through a program to make it so I can see like the wavelength to it to make it so that I can like actually differentiate the words. Because otherwise it just sounds like a voice, but it sounds like mush to me. Like I can't make it out.
This one, like it sounded exactly what you think it would sound like in like a I like to say like a horror game or like movie, like that, like cheap audio that they found off of like stockpile or something, and it's like like real ghostly, like you wouldn't expect it to sound like that, and then you're just in your head like, man, this sounds fake. More and more I listen to it, but I know I heard this in real time with other people and there was no one upstairs. I'm like, okay.
See, this stuff kind of gets into like two different like lanes, because you have like the paranormal side, which people sometimes see as like woo woo, but on the other side of it though, there's like the whole astrophysics explanation, all this type of stuff that, what you're interacting with or what you're hearing is like another dimension or another reality. And there's like all this scientific backing to it, which I think is like my biggest argument when I say that, like, if anybody that doesn't believe in the paranormal, it's like, why does the government spend so much money investigating in this type of research? It may not be like going out there and like ghost hunting, but doing like telepathic research, doing like all of this type of stuff, like trying to communicate with things on the other side. Like, if there wasn't something to it, I don't think they would have invested this much money into it. And I always say, man, I feel like they almost like use these ghost shows as like, I don't want to necessarily say like a psyop, but like a misdirection, so that like they're actually figuring this stuff out. And then on the other side, they have people that are running around in the dark calling everything a demon, and they're actually trying to figure out like how to make contact with these other realities, with these other things. Or even on the other side, man, it's like, it seems like all these elites, they have this whole like idea about being able to like transfer their consciousness into something. And I've always made the argument, man, like that ghostly realm, maybe it's a matter of where your body go, or where your consciousness goes. They can either one get transferred into something else, or two, it goes to the afterlife and maybe, you know, gets into the whole reincarnation concept. But, you know, if you try to muddy the waters a bit and you actually have this understood how to do this, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot to it. And the more you start digging into it, the more connecting pieces that aren't necessarily like paranormal investigating, but like weird government experiments on like telepathy, astral projection, all of this type of stuff. It's like, it's all within the same realm. Like there's got to be something to it. If people are having these weird experiences, people like to try to disprove it, yet all this money's still getting spent on it.
It could be like, what's that island called? Plum Island up there outside New York. It's what Stranger Things is based off of.
Oh yeah, the Project Montauk Project. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the Montauk Project. Yeah, just astral stuff. Speaking of astral, I talked to somebody one time before. You ever heard of I think they're called dreamwalkers, people that can like roam in their dreams, or like just, you know, out of body experience, kind of astral projecting more or less. I told him, I said, I want to hook somebody up to like a machine they use to test your sleep, like when you go get sleep apnea tests and stuff like that, just to monitor the brain waves, just to see what it looks like when somebody like, you know, astral project, which we won't know, but like just to have comparison, somebody that we know for fact that doesn't do it versus somebody that says they claim they can do it, just to see if there's a difference in brain waves.
I'm curious if there has been scientific experiments done on astral projection in that sense. Like, I feel like if there has been some, it's going to be, of course, those like under wraps, like secret project type things. But I'm sure that there has been some research done on that, because, you know, in mainstream science, you know, they're going to say, oh, we're doing sleep research, we're going to track the dreams, but they're never going to admit to like tracking astral projection, even though maybe that might be part of the intention in it. But again, that's one of those things, man. It dates back so far with all of these different religions, with all of these different like spiritual teachings. It's like, if there wasn't something to it, then why would people have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of years perfecting it?
Yep. Like Native Americans are the biggest thing. They're the ones where the dreamwalker term comes from, because those are people that can astral project or walk into other people's dreams, apparently. I can't remember what the exact reason was, but like that's where I've heard it from, just Native American like legends and stuff, and or just, you know, what they say they'd be able to do.
I mean, even on the other side of that too, man, it's like I've heard story after story after story of people becoming like lucid in their dreams. Yeah. So almost like you know, doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And they'll like interact with like other people, other things in their dreams, and they'll either one be told not to. Like, it's almost like it's another conscious thing, and they're basically saying like, leave that thing's paradigm alone. Like, I was just listening to Monsters Among Us, and I heard another one of these stories today, and it mentioned that this guy basically said he was in the, you know, sleep astral realm, and he said, you know, we're sleeping, right, to somebody else that was in there, and some security guard like came up and supposedly kept telling him like, you can't tell people that. But I've heard it's just like that same thing where it's like you can't ask people what time it is in a dream, because all of a sudden everybody starts getting really pissed off and angry at you. And maybe that's something mentally that you think about when you actually try to do this, or there actually is something to it, because maybe you're going into the next higher up dimension, or the in-between layer, that's aka the paranormal dimension, where time isn't necessarily like a thing, and you know, you can't make other things aware of that within this realm. Otherwise, maybe it's like breaking some type of like rules of like how things are supposed to function, because it seems like everything in the world functions on rules. Like anybody that I've talked to about like the native perspective of Sasquatch, like the reason why they don't get discovered is because they live by this specific set of rules. It's like all of these different realities seem to have these sets of rules that you have to follow, otherwise it can't function properly. And I'm sure our reality has them. It's just that we're physically attached to this reality, but if we were able to transverse into other realities, I'm sure that there would be a specific set of rules that we needed to follow to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. But just a quick reminder, if you'd like to rock some gear for one of your favorite podcasts, creatures, or topics, hop on over to the Open Minds Media Store on Etsy and Printify for a wide range of designs with new drops regularly. The most recent design available is the SQUATCH Country Fear and Loathing parody design, with Sasquatch as Hunter S. Thompson and Mothman as Dr. Gonzo, with artwork by Chris Holm of the Conspiracy Theory podcast. Welcome back to the show. Now let's dive right in.
Also, speaking on like the paranormal part of it, a lot of people say like if you lucid dream and you stray away from your body too far, like a spirit can inhabit, kind of like Insidious.
Yeah, it's like the, what is the silver cord or something? That's the name for it.
Yeah, that, and like just if he's roamed away from his body and, you know, they've seen spirits. Like, this one guy I watched on YouTube, his name's Corey Shear. And he I can't remember who he was, where he was talking about on, I don't know whose video, or it was with, he was with somebody investigating or something, or he talked about himself. But he was talking about the time when he like was like lucid dreaming and he didn't know it because his buddy was supposed to pick him up, like just go out and hang out. And he said, "Oh, let me go grab my CDs real quick." Runs in and he said like he ran past someone. And he walks out and there's just fogs. The street's just all foggy. And I've also seen, there's a thing called Red Door, Yellow Door. It's like some sort of it's kind of like a Bloody Mary type game. You put somebody down, you lay them down, they close their eyes, and you red door, yellow door, red door, yellow door. I can't remember the full thing, but they're supposed to choose a door. And I seen a video, this dude saw his dead friend, and he was trying, like, he was crying out to him and stuff like that, and they couldn't wake him up from it. So they started screaming for the mom to come help, but the dude was, like, freaking out. Like, he saw his dead friend that just passed, like, probably a couple years ago.
You never picked that red door, man. There's something weird about red doors. Like, I don't know if it's something subconsciously, like, placed in our mind from, like, movies and stuff, man, but I was, like, driving past this apartment complex the other day, and all the doors are painted red, and I was like, that just gives me bad energy, bad vibes. Like, I feel like you just don't use... Red doors are just bad news. Like, for whatever reason, that's just something subconsciously placed in my mind about you never enter red doors.
Yep. I got two movies off the top of my head. Nightmare on Elm Street and Insidious.
I mean, there's even, like, the whole, like, red room concept getting into, like, the dark web thing. I'm sure that has some insinuation of, like, a red door, too. Like, there's probably some occult meaning to a red door. I just need to look it up, but I don't know. Like, there's something subconscious about it.
Yeah.
But kind of diving again. I want to keep diving into some of your investigations and stuff. What are some of the other cool places you've gotten to check out?
I've gone Wildwood, of course, Madison.
Well, I guess Wildwood. That was the one that I wanted to bring back up. What's the backstory on Wildwood?
Oh, Wildwood. It was old. It was a doctor's like office type thing for a while, and I can't remember what the years were. But they end up during the rapid age of TB and stuff, White Death. They end up turning it into a sanatorium, trying to pull patients in and stuff like that. There's also so you get the doctors in there sometimes, maybe a couple patients, maybe a nurse or two, but there's also a little boy who drowned in the river. Can't remember how far, or the river, it's not far from the place, and so he goes there. I don't remember what the reason was, to be honest, but it's a pretty cool place. It's just a lot of history. They got photos downstairs. You can see where like the tubs and stuff were for like not experiments but tests and stuff. Like you can see the rust hole on the ground from the tubs and things like that. They have photos of what it looked like down there at one point that they found. Because they're really big on trying to preserve that history there. So like they're constantly redoing stuff on it to keep it up and going, redoing the roof, stuff like this. So I really like that. But that one was pretty neat. It was kind of quiet that night. That's why I want to go back. Because I like to say it's like fishing. You can throw your bait out there, but you never guarantee to catch anything.
I always say this with going for like SQUATCH hikes. It's like you got to enjoy the woods because 1 out of 10 you're not going to get nothing.
Yeah, but
paranormal investigating, you got to like history and creepy old buildings. Otherwise, you know what, you're not going to have as much fun if you're just going to hope for a ghost every time.
you gotta find those random rooms that just look cool, and you're like, oh, look at this. But they my mom was with me on that one. We were finishing up the investigation, like the recorders. I took down all the cameras I had, which I've now learned that I need a power bank to keep my batteries on, because unless I'm changing batteries all night. But we were downstairs, and you can sign your name on like the door frames and like stuff like that. Just put your name on it. So basically saying you're there. They also have a guest book. But just saying you were there, and it was pretty cool. The at the end, I was looking for a spot. I can't remember what the name of the. I think it was called Three Hags or something. But it was just the name of a group. I can't remember. They had names under it. But I pointed at it and told my mom. She's sitting next to me. And then we shut the door to upstairs, and it's hot. So like doors swell, so you have to push on it. And we were sitting there talking. Next thing you know, you hear a loud bang on the door. My mom, me and we looked at each other, and I said, "Did something fall?" Because they have a storage room behind the bathroom on the other side. So I thought something fell. That wasn't the case. She said no, something hit that door trying to come through the door to us. We never went up there to go look because we were already on our way out. It was just that last minute thing that happened. And it was like, what just happened?
Almost makes you wonder if there's some type of like protection or something like that in that doorway.
I thought, well, luckily the door was slow. I feel like if it was wintertime when it's not like so swollen, I feel like it would have opened. And I feel like it would have been more, like, it would have been creepier. But hearing that, I've never heard like a verbal like bang like that, like something banging on a door before like that. And that was pretty cool to hear. Like I've heard taps, we've heard whispers, like stuff like that, but like just hearing a bang on the door was pretty cool. Like another location I vendored at is for a Unity thing. It's another team called Dark Hollow. And they held this Unity thing. It was a bunch of us teams getting together, just kind of, sharing the love, Unity, just helping each other out. And it's in a haunted theater called the Haunted Liberty Theater in Antigua, PA. And it's pretty cool. Like it's the Historical Society owns it. I think that's who owns it. Or the Community Legion or whoever it is does. And they're remodeling it. And it was also part of the old mining town. Yeah. And they got a little mining exhibit, but at the end of it, they let us, the vendors investigate for free. So we got to investigate the location for free, other than paying for the vendor thing. So I was there till like 10, 11 o'clock. And then I had to go home through the sketchy mountains in the dark and the fog. So I was like, yeah, I need to leave. But
I'm investigating for the night. That's how that's going down.
Yeah. But we were sitting there, and all of us are downstairs, and we were sitting there doing investigation. They have the tripwire set up from one closet. Supposedly a dude took his life there, and what was the other one? Yeah. And then on the other side where that door was where that mining like display is going to be, where they showed what the miners were doing at that time in that town. And we were sitting there talking, and I can't remember what it was. We heard a bang. Like something knocked real hard on something. Me, and two other people ran to it. And the area where it is, we can't really fit in there. Because they got an old mine cart in the way and a bunch of other like stuff that are using to remodel that area with. So like you can't get in there. And we were sitting there talking. I'm like, man, I wonder what that was. And then under the stairs on the other side, it leads up where the thing happened. And you hear a bang from under the stairs. So the one dude's trying to run out after me, and I'm like, I don't know whether to catch him if he falls or should I just keep going? Because he's trying to push by me to get out. Like he's in a hurry. Because I was right next to our heads when it banged. And then when we started scurrying out, they said the tripwire lit up. As soon as that bang happened, like we scared whatever it was, ran across the tripwire and tripped all the lights and made the cat balls go off at the same time.
Dude, that's some awesome evidence.
I don't know. I don't remember if they took video of that one, to be honest.
I mean, even if you did, man, it's one of those things, like I said, everybody's going to try to debunk it. But, I mean, if you're there and you see that, man, that's like all the evidence you need sometimes.
The thing that we missed with the tripwire going off, and then also, not long after that, we were sitting there. Me, the guy, and somebody else, were sitting there, and then we heard another like knock somewhere or a noise. We heard like a voice or something, like a squeak or something. We went to it. I'm like, what was that? Like, I don't know the area. Like, I haven't even been upstairs yet. But I didn't get a chance to go because I left right after, not long after that experience, because we took like little breaks in between just to regather ourselves. But like, that's a pretty active place. I would love to go there and just get the place to myself one good time. But that's a pretty cool place.
Oh yeah, dude. Especially because I feel like when you have too many people, you just don't end up getting that many results. You got to have like, I feel like 3 always seems to be like a really good solid number
Yeah.
where it's not too many, but it's not too little. Like you got enough people that it's not just like, oh, you saw that too, right? And you got one other person that goes with you. 3 is the good number where you can kind of separate a bit.
So that's how it felt with this recent one. Like literally, last Friday I went to here in Chambersburg area. We have what's called the Old Franklin County Jail. They do like ghost, like not ghost tours, but they do like a haunted house during October. But they also push out their paranormal side because people get a lot of stuff, activity. And I went there by myself, and I didn't. I got some things, but like other things I didn't get. Like I got the flux go off a couple times. REM pod. As soon as I walked up the stairs, it goes off. Like I hear beep beep twice, and then that's it. I go back on my recorder. It's not on the recorder. And I'm like, what in the world? So I was like, okay. I got some things on the Oculus. But other than that, it was kind of a quiet night. Like, didn't really hear much. I think I saw a shadow, but I still haven't went back on the camcorder to look yet. It might not even been pointing where I saw it at. My luck, but I just not much going on. Just Flux, Ovilus, and I think I got a couple outside because the courtyard has the old gallows that were, I don't know if they were the ones used on the site, but like it's the old gallows and the thing that they used to put like witches in the throat, or like the town person.
I mean, even if they are remakes, there's still that
Yeah.
land, you know?
Yeah, but like they had that. I'm said the REM palm there didn't get much, but got a couple things on the spirit box. But not much. What sucks is it's in the center of town, more or less. So you got cars constantly going by because I did it from like 5 to 9. Cars are still going by and all this stuff. But other than that, I mean, it was pretty cool just to walk around. They have a room that they call it the graffiti room, and it's literally like I think it was inmates or can't remember who he said they held there in the 1940s, but like it was a separate room that they had that was also like a jail cell for multiple people.
It may have been one of those rooms that they kept the kids and stuff in, because I've been to a few of those old jails where they had like a kids room. So I'm kind of curious if it may have been kids that were drawn on the walls.
This one was adults because this one was, I can't remember what he said because that part of the jail was like like this jail was still active until like 1970. So like I don't know, but in the 40s they have like graffiti walls. Like you find Dick Tracy on the wall. I saw Donald Duck. But there was just random drawings on the wall, and I was just sitting there for a good while looking at it. I thought it was pretty cool just to look in it, just finding all the little secret little photos in there.
That's like one of the coolest parts though, because I got into like paranormal investigating through like urban exploring, and it's like with all that, like half the fun is not necessarily the people that are obviously doing the obnoxious shit, like drawing the giant dicks on walls and stuff like that, but the people that are actually taking the time to do like the artistic graffiti, like that's some of the coolest stuff about those places.
Oh, definitely like Penhurst Candyland, the drawings they had down there for the kids and stuff. Like they got like a big elephant on one wall. It was a carousel. I mean, it's not a happy place by no means. Penhurst is not.
They try to make it look happy with those paintings, but they end up looking creepier as time goes on.
Yeah. But like, I mean, that place is pretty cool. I mean, the history's horrible, but like, just in general, just the fact that it's still open, not open, but it's still like people come by, get tours, and learn the dark history of our past during that time of like people that had Down syndrome, people that had like mental retardation or like ADHD, stuff that no one understood. Just learning that we didn't know what to do, and we were just throwing them away more or less, like opening like, hey, this is our dark history, and we need to own up to it. Like we need to keep sharing the history so we don't make these mistakes again in the future.
That's why all these like mental institutions, jails, and all that stuff are so haunted, is because it's just normal people that just had ailments that would get locked up just because it was a lack of understanding. Like, I mean, even just in general, man, like you'll see these like postage stamps that were supposed to be like a positive message. It's supposed to be like help people with like Down syndrome, except for, you know, they didn't use the politically correct term for it, even though at the time it was just, you know, even in the 70s, that just shows that we still, even though that wasn't that long ago, we still just really didn't have an understanding. And when it comes to a lot of this stuff, I mean, a lot of these like psychiatric hospitals weren't shut down till like 80s, 90s. So I feel like that's when we actually started to kind of really get an understanding of this kind of stuff. So just imagine how many people that would just be normal people nowadays, like spent their lives being basically like tortured in these places just because of a lack of understanding that maybe they needed a little bit more like visual focus on something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a dark, those times were terrible. Like, it's hard to believe that we had that type of past, like just in general.
I mean, you keep going back farther than that too, and it's like, you know, how many of these people that we claimed were like witches or whatever were honestly also just people that had like a mental illness, where I'm sure there was definitely people that were like trying to practice dark magic, but on the other side, you know, there may have just been somebody that maybe had, I don't know, some type of like schizophrenia, for example, perfect example. And they were just, you know, trying to do their yard work and maybe just yelling at some of the voices, or somebody Tourette's, for example, you know, that's just, you know, chopping wood or something. They just, or start swearing in the middle of it. And then people think they're possessed. And then next thing you know, psh, there you go. It's a witch. It's a warlock. It's whatever.
I even went to Salem just to look around, and just seeing that, and that fact that they're keeping the dark part of our history alive. And it sucks, again, it sucks to say that, but it's our mistakes that we're owning up to now, more or less. Like, hey, you know, we accuse people for no reason. And I can't remember what it was, some witch hunt at that time. It was like a mass hysteria, which is what it was.
It was ergot and stuff. And then after that, people just started saying like, hey, I don't like this neighbor. That one I saw doing this.
Yep. I can't remember the name of that play. There's a play or like a story. That,
The Crucible.
Yeah, I read that in high school, and then we watched the movie on it, and I watched it, and I'm like, this is some like messed up stuff.
Yeah, man. Especially with like digging into like the Salem stuff too. Talk about a complete 360. That it's like this entire town was trying to rid their town of witches. You know, they were like a very like, you know, religious town, and then now it's like the town like glorifies like the witches. So it's like in a weird way, like it's almost like karma. Like what they didn't want to be remembered for is what they ended up being remembered for because of how vicious they were about trying to get rid of it. Hold that thought. We'll be right back. But before we get into this break, if you might be interested in joining a growing community of like-minded individuals, then pop on over to the Open Minds Media Telegram, a place to discuss high strangeness, conspiracies, and anything else on your mind. Bizarre and open-minded individuals always welcome. Link to join available down in the show description. And we are back, so let's get back to it.
Salem was cool. They even I wasn't there when it was built, but Black Craft Cult. They're like pretty witch themed almost, kind of in that area. But also just in general, it's just pretty funny to see it. Also, just like you said, it's a full 360. Hey, we don't like this, but hey, guess what? That's what your town's known and celebrated for now. And like they got the original Bewitched girl statue, like in the not in the center of town, but like off like near the main street.
Did that show take place in Salem?
I think it did. I'm not sure.
Because I watched it here and there as a kid, but I didn't like pay that much attention to it. So I'm curious if that took place in Salem. I feel like it would.
I feel like it probably did, because like it was like a gold statue or a bronze statue with her on it on a broom with the crescent moon behind her.
Like the classic like movie logo, or not movie but TV logo.
Yeah.
Is there a thing with that one like Mothman where you got to go up and touch its butt or something?
I don't know. I did randomly tell my dad one day, it was like a random weekend. I'm like, hey, do you want to go to Point Pleasant with me? He's like, where's that? I said, that's West Virginia. He's like, how far? I'm like, 5 hours, 5.5. He said, what was it known for? I said, Mothman. He's like, why you want to go? I said, I just want to go to the museum and see a statue. That's it. And then we did a trip out to I can't remember. We went out somewhere.
Usually, if you go to the museum too and you ask, they'll usually give you a map of like the TNT plant where the original sightings were, so you can like go and check that stuff out too.
So this is a funny thing. My GPS for my truck was set to scenic route. So instead of 5 hours, it turned to 8 hours, and I missed the museum by 1 minute.
Closing?
Yep, it was closed. When I got there, it was 5:01. They closed at 5. Doors were locked, no one was there. Lights were out, and I'm like, no. I got to see Mothman though, and then me and my dad went to go. We ate at a restaurant there, and they have like tables with news clippings from the town there, and they have a table that's just strictly Mothman articles.
They got They got a putt place now that's like all cryptid themed there now too.
Oh yeah, I went there because we went out to if you go out to Berkeley Springs there in West Virginia, they have a mythical pizza place.
Dude, I actually went there trying to go to that place. It was a Sunday. It was when we were leaving that last event that we met at, and they were fucking closed, man. So I ended up spending the day in Bath checking out like the natural springs and all that kind of stuff because I was already there.
Dude, it's worth it. We can just plan it right now. Let's just go. Let's just go get some pizza. And I even told that was a pitch to the whole family. It's like, hey, let's go to Mythical Pizza. They're like, how far? I'm like, oh, it's this far. I said, but we also can do this nearby because we went in there. They have pamphlets, and the Cryptid Mini Golf was one of them. And I'm like, oh, hey, there's also Cryptid Mini Golf. Like, what's that? I said, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's awesome. It was pretty cool to go in there too, because it's like UV, and they got all the cryptids from West Virginia in there. They got, I think it's the Grafton was West Virginia, right?
Yeah, Grafton Monster.
They had the Snarly Yow. They had a couple ghost stories in there. They had Bigfoot, which I don't remember what his term is for West Virginia. I can't remember if it's
Wood Booger maybe? Grassman's Ohio. Maybe Wood Booger or Devil Ape.
I have a photo of the Mothman. He's like perched on, I think it's the last hole. He's like perched up top and his wings move. It's pretty cool what they like. It's like in an area you wouldn't think of mini golf is at. You see it and you're like, it can't be mini golf in there. And it is. It's pretty cool.
Dude, talk about, it's either going to be really dark humor or people aren't going to find it funny, but it's been long enough, though, that I think you could make a thing out of this. So, you know, like the putt-putt course from like Happy Gilmore, like the ridiculously crazy putt-putt course? You got to have one with Mothman at the end, but you got to try to get the ball in as he sits on the Silver Bridge, and the Silver Bridge collapses over the hole.
That's terrible.
Like I said, dark humor, but maybe it's been long enough now that you can make jokes like that and people won't be mad about it.
We should be able to. Yeah. That definitely would be good. That'd be like him trying to hit it in when the clowns got laughing at him.
And then if you make the ball in before the bridge collapses, then you got Ingrid Cole in there that'll just throw the ball out and laugh at you with a giant smile. Just throw the ball back.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Cryptids is another thing. I do also love just cryptids in general, just the stories. Cause like I wouldn't know, would you count dragons as a cryptid more or less? Cause
dude, the more that I've dived into it, though, I am 99% sure that what people call dragons are dinosaurs. And there's like this whole mixed thing between like dragon folklore and like dinosaur folklore. Because ironically, man, the more you dive into dragons, like everybody talked about them being feathered. They talked about like all these really, really weird things that we're just now like really starting to discover about dinosaurs. Because it was only within the past like 5-10 years that we're starting to realize that all dinosaurs basically had like some form of like feathers, and they were a lot more closely related to birds than they are like reptiles. So it's like, you know, you want to try to throw all this stuff out because it's dragons, but like, I don't know, man. They're talking about these lizard-looking things that had wings and they had feathers, and I don't know, man. Like, I feel like there's a lot more to it than what people think. And what happened with a lot of the dragon stuff is that people just played the fisherman tale. So it's like, you know, you have this dragon dinosaur being that's living up in some mountain somewhere. You know, you're going to go up there and you're going to slay it for the princess. You're not just going to go up there and basically just told them that you stabbed a giant lizard and it died. You're going to be like, man, this thing breathed fire at me. It had this giant thing that it was sitting on all this gold. And as soon as I killed it, it just fell into it and all the gold collapsed down. Like, it's just going to turn into these fisherman tales. So I think if you throw out the mythical part of a lot of these dragon stories, that you're going to realize that dragons and fucking dinosaurs are the same exact thing, and it still plays in with a lot of this like cryptid sightings, like the Van Meter visitor, prime example.
That's what I think. I think a lot, like especially a lot of these legends, like mythical creatures. I'm like, there had to be some creature then. Like they can't. They might describe it differently than what we know what it is now. They could have like there was something that people described as something I can't remember what it was, but other people were saying it could have been a Komodo dragon. Those big lizards that look like they could take your whole arm off. They wanted to be honest with you.
I mean,
But,
think
like,
about how much stuff people could have hunted into extinction too. Because when you're creating all these stories, everybody's scared of it. If they see one, they're going to kill it. So it's like you kill everything off, and then you just hear these stories, and they just sound like folklore stories of people doing stuff. But if there were like, prime example, every culture talks about giant fucking snakes. What would be like more detrimental to people than giant snakes? It's like if there's giant snakes around, that's going to be one of the first things that people kill off. So it's like people want to pretend like giant snakes didn't exist, but it's like, first of all, there's still a lot of really, really weird sightings here and there of giant snakes. And on the other side, if giant snakes are all over North America, dude, like the natives would have taken those things out. And that was like the whole story. Like you dive into like the Unteka of the native of Cherokee like folklore, the giant like horned / antlered snake. And they talked about how it had this like special scale that would like give you like magical powers. So it's like you add that onto it, that there's this giant snake. We need to kill this thing. And it also has a scale that's magic. It's like anybody's going to go and try to kill that thing. And I mean, even just adding the magic scale could have been part of like, with a lot of the native stuff, you don't know whether you should take it literal or like metaphorical, but like a lot of their stories seem to have like practical purpose. Like, you know, they usually warn people about going by the water. You know, you don't go by the creeks and the water. You don't run off in the woods if you hear weird noises and stuff. But kind of going off of that they try to make these stories where there's something like impactful. You know, if you're trying to get rid of a beast that you know is going to, you know, eat your babies, kill your children, like whatever, you start telling all the men in the village this thing has a magical scale. Watch how many dudes go out there and try to show how tough they are. Like 2 birds, 1 stone.
Oh, definitely. No, but speaking of dinosaurs, you ever hear listen to I think it was sound engineers that reconstructed what a T-Rex would have sounded like? That's freaky.
It sounds honestly more bird-like too than like.
That's why they based it off. They're like, well, now that you know people are saying they're more bird-like, they have feathers. They're like, this is what it technically would have sounded like. It wouldn't sound like what you heard in like Jurassic Park with the big roar. It would sound like this, and it creeped me out. Just imagine something bigger than a raptor making those clicking noises. Freaked me out more than anything, to be honest.
I mean, look at owls. Owls scare the shit out of people, and they're not even. I mean, they're big, but like, just the sound they make scares the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, owls. No, yeah, no. But also like extinct animals. Like, I feel like those sometimes turn into cryptids at some points because there's people's like, oh, have you seen this? Have you heard of this? Did you see that? Like, I know. There's a company right now called. I think they're called Colossus. They're trying to bring back the woolly mammoth, the dodo, the Tasmanian tiger, and what was the other one? Something else. And I was telling somebody about it. Like, why bring it back? I'm like, they're claiming like a woolly mammoth can help the climate. I don't know, but like,
I mean, at least woolly mammoths though, it wasn't that they were dangerous. Like humans hunted them into extinction because they were such a good food source. You kill one of those things and you guys would eat for the next like month. Like that's what happened to woolly mammoths. It wasn't anything. It was humans just hunting them into extinction because they were just like so much meat so readily available.
Like what I thought was funny was like the last sighting of I read it. They said the last sighting of woolly mammoths was probably like during like the Egyptian times, so like the Great Pyramid of Giza were like built or like done. Was the last time like one was sighted.
So honestly, it wasn't even that long ago.
No, that's what's funny about it is like,
and it makes you wonder too if there could still be some weird pockets of these things still living maybe in like, you know, really, really rural Canada or really, really rural Siberia or something, you know?
It's nice to think about like the Thunderbird of Arizona, right? Arizona or Nevada?
Honestly, it kind of accompanies a lot of the Midwest.
I think it's most of the Midwest, yeah.
Because Illinois had that major Thunderbird sighting where the kid supposedly got like picked up by it. And that was back in like the 70s or 80s. And it lifted him about 6 feet and then dropped him.
Jesus. I'm good. I don't want to be picked up by anything.
See, those stories don't even seem crazy to me. Like the possibility of giant birds, like you already have condors, you already have these other giant birds. So is it really like that far off to think that there might still be some remnants of some bigger birds existing out there, especially considering like how hard it is to track a bird, especially if you don't get your hands on it first, put an ID tag on. And I've been trying to avoid talking about the whole drone thing on the show because I feel like people are turning it into something a lot bigger than it is. Yeah. But like if people can't even supposedly figure out where the fuck these drones are coming from, how the hell are you going to track a giant bird that you just caught a glimpse of? Are you going to like hop on your one man little helicopter thing and like chase this thing down? Like, there's just so much of the big bird thing that I think people want to try to throw it out with the bathwater, but it's like so hard to like be able to actually go out and check this stuff out. Like, otherwise, again, we would have done something already in New Jersey. But just to throw in my piece on it, because I haven't had an opportunity yet. Everybody goes crazy with all these conspiracy theories, saying it's aliens, saying it's this. It's not fucking aliens. It's a government operation that they just don't want to admit to. They're trying to do something. They're trying to test something out. Everybody keeps getting this woo-woo conspiracies. It's not any of that, man. It's a government operation. Otherwise, they would be all over that shit.
Yeah, I got to point people to that part of your comment because I've been asked that too. They're like, what do you think it is? I'm like, I said, in all honesty, I said, it could be something, a whole different country just messing with us because they know we're going through stuff right now. I said, I mean, honestly, they're drones. I don't know what else you want me to say. Like,
I think it's honestly our government trying to test out new technology of like how to track people down. Like, I think that they were specifically looking for someone or something, and they were basically just trying out this new method of being able to like find a fugitive or find a specific person. And then once everybody got weirded out by the drones, and all of a sudden every single helicopter or plane in the sky was a drone, then it just it took on this whole life of its own. But I honestly think it was government drones looking for something, and then as soon as the government's asked about it, they're like, I don't know, because that's the typical government thing. Because if it was some other government dude, they would have been all over that shit. Like they're so standoffishness about it just shows that it's them. Like it's not Operation Bluebeam, it's not fucking aliens, it's government drones.
We're used to it by now.
Yeah,
used to it by now.
And it's also a ploy to just make it so that now they can outlaw drones for other people because they want them to be strictly military use. Like two birds, one stone. It's tricking people and making everybody scared of drones, and also a government operation. But that's all I'm going to say on that topic. I just went through my podcast feed today, and I saw like 10 episodes that were all like drone-ageddon, drone this, drone that. And I'm like, there's not that much to talk about. Like, it's not anything crazy. It's not a conspiracy. It's fucking a government operation they don't want to admit to. Like, we've seen this happen before.
A lot of times. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people ask me about it. But yeah, I'm done with. I'm like, it is what it is. They want a minute, they don't. It's up to them.
It's kind of like the Miami stuff, man. It's just there's going to be so much speculation around it that you're never going to figure out what it actually was. Yep. And now it's just going to be one of those things that lives on where nobody's going to have any extra piece of information. Just whatever people create in their heads is what it's going to exist as.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, but speaking of going back to the de-extinction thing is what it's called when they're bringing back these. I found out listening to it, what the closest relative to a dodo bird was.
Let me make a guess at this. Is it something bird-like, or is it something in a totally different animal kingdom?
It's bird.
It's a bird? I'm going to assume a pelican.
It's a pigeon.
A pigeon? I was close.
Like you see at New York, pigeon. Just the thought of that, it just makes me laugh. I don't know if it's fully correct, but that's what they said it was the closest. Like the woolly mammoth, I think it was closest to South Asian elephant. I think that's what it was. Yeah. And the thylacine, hopefully they bring that back, because I think it'd be cool to see in real life, is the Tasmanian tiger.
You just got to hope they don't start mixing some other genetics into it to try to make it stable, and then up with a Jurassic Park situation where they start taking on new characteristics.
I hope not, because like the last footage of a thylacine was in the 1940s.
I mean, that's one of those cryptid ones though, that I feel like there's people that have caught a lot more of it since then. Like
a lot of people are saying that possibly could be what people are describing as the chupacabra. I don't know why, but that's what a lot of people are saying, because I don't know what their feeding habits are and how they do stuff, but like...
See, I feel like a lot of places, though, don't like to admit something's in the area. It's not for the sake of, like... It's mainly just, like, if it's something that they know is going to attack, like, the the like farm animals and stuff like that in the area.
Yeah.
Rather than like reporting it and now making it an endangered animal where you can't do anything about it, the farmers just and then they just shoot it, get rid of it, and nobody knows anything about it. Because it's like as soon as you say, oh, there are some of these in this area, then it becomes a whole thing. And then you like basically you just have to sit and watch this thing pick off your animals and you can't do anything about it. So it's better just to not say it's even there, get rid of it, and it never existed in the first place. Same with a lot of like the fucking like cougar and puma sightings and big cat sightings in half of America. Half these counties, half these states don't want to say that they're in the area, but then they're in the area. So it's like just a matter of they don't want to admit to it because after that, then they can't deal with it under the table.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I just think it's cool. Everybody's like freaking out that they're planning on doing that, and they're like, I'm like, I mean, let's see where they go with it. I mean, it's advancement. I mean, cloning's nothing new. They've probably done that. They probably tested that a bunch of times on other animals that
they supposedly made a sheep back in the 90s that we publicly knew about. That's who knows what they're actually doing, like publicly.
Yeah, but like, who knows? I'm curious to see where it goes. I'm curious to see, you know, who knows? They could have woolly mammoths, and then who knows? They could be in zoos. We could pet them, maybe ride them. Who knows? Attractions.
I'm going to get a pet woolly mammoth. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I've always had this obsession with woolly mammoths. And I mean, fuck, most people don't realize it considering they're like a giant elephant, but they lived in like the colder / northern regions of like North America. So it's like Michigan was covered in like these skulls of these things. So it's like perfect environment, man. Like let's get an elephant or let's get a mammoth. I want a mammoth in my backyard. That'd be awesome.
They even found they said that where they found some of these bones that some of the mammoths could live in different continents too. So like hot, cold. And they said there's a version, I can't remember what island it was, but there was a version that were dwarf woolly mammoths.
Oh, that was Indonesia.
That was Indonesia?
Yep.
Yeah, I know they had a dwarf version that they found recently. No, not recently, but not too long ago. That's why I heard about it.
And I mean, just to throw in another additional fun fact that I always find interesting too, the whole like Cyclops folklore, I mean, there could definitely be something to it, but on the other side, a lot of like where that folklore came from was they were finding these giant skulls and they thought that they were remnants of Cyclopses that were from the past. But if you flip a woolly mammoth skull and look at it from underneath, it literally looks like a one-eyed human skull. So like when people were discovering all these woolly mammoth skulls, they were thinking that they were like giant Cyclops skulls everywhere.
Especially if they didn't have a tusk on them.
Yep.
They were broke off or something. They're probably like, man.
There's a museum in Michigan that has a plaque. It's the Cranbrook Science Institute or something like that. They have a plaque up that basically describes that, and they have one of the skulls turned, and it's missing the tusks. Like it's cool because it's like you can imagine it in your head, but like when you're physically seeing it in front of you and it's like full size, like it really does look like a giant human skull with one eye. Like it's crazy, like the comparison.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool because they also like. I also want to know about these giants because supposedly there was giants too. Like the Bible depicts them and all this stuff, and they found
all the mounds.
The big mounds are like there was like giant skeletons there. They also I think it was out in the Midwest. Everything happens in the Midwest. Why is that? I wonder why. But the red hair giants, apparently I don't know which tribe of Native Americans fought them, but apparently they like back in the past they like eradicated them more or less.
That was the Lovelock Cave story that basically all these tribes teamed up and they like basically like burned them into like the caves. And there's even supposedly like Native American families that still have like the scalp of these things with like the red hair. Yeah. And I've never seen one in person, but I've seen like pictures, but I mean everybody can do pictures online and stuff, but like if that is the case and somebody has these things, can you imagine like how hidden that information would be? Like, don't let Smithsonian get a hold of that shit because you'll never see it again.
No.
There'd be no record of it.
I watched a video on the Smithsonian. I can't remember how much it costs for that place, but I know it's in like the millions. And like their storage, like that's not even half of it. Like
90% of it's a complex underground. You only see like 10% of their collection.
I was watching like the Business Insider or something like that where they go and tour things and they went to the Smithsonian and they were going over each individual storage thing. Like one had dinosaur bones, one had mammals and all that stuff. And I was like, man, what in the world?
The Ark of the Covenant and all the giant bones are all hidden in the basement of the Smithsonian.
It's got to be. They got the Hope Diamond there. And everything else might well be under there.
Hey, I've made the joke a few times on the show that everybody talked about raiding Area 51, and I've always made jokes saying, well, let's raid the Vatican because they got all the information. You got to make it a two-way party, and you got to have the people that are over there in Europe raid the Vatican at the same time. Everybody in the U.S. raids the Smithsonian, and we'll figure out what kind of crazy information we all bring back from that. Like, fuck Area 51. They ain't got nothing there that we want to see. We got to go to these two places.
Let's question the Pope. We got to figure out what's going on here. You wash people's hands away when they touch them. We got to figure out what's going on. I would like just to see the Vatican. I don't even want to do anything. I just want to see it from a distance because I'm like, how? Like, this makes no sense, but how? Because I did see a thing. He just upgraded his Pope mobile to electric.
Oh my God, that's because that's the new Pope. That's the woke Pope that everybody is like. He ain't our Pope. Got to be green, my friends. Even though we're using slave labor for cobalt and all this kind of shit to make the batteries, but it's better on paper. But
that was funny.
Stay tuned, guys. This is our last break. But if you guys enjoy the show and think I deserve it, please leave a review or rating for the show on iTunes or Spotify. Your continued support is what makes this show possible, and your opinions go a long way to help the show grow and improve. So thank you. Now back with that deep conversation you crave. I guess with that, kind of starting to wrap up towards the end, man, I always like to do words of wisdom from the guest to the listener. So if there's any words of wisdom you could bestow on the listeners today, what might it be, man?
This is something I want to start passing on, but I've been wanting to say, follow your curiosities.
I like it. That's a good one. Follow your curiosities and follow your passions. Yep.
Whatever drives you, whatever makes you curious, go for it. If it's paranormal, cryptid, maybe it's, I want to look into, find this extinct animal that's supposedly is extinct, but it's not. Or, I wrote this book or something that you love. Just go for it. Take a chance.
You might be the next big one for that thing, for all you know, man. You might be the next big discovery, or you might write the next best, literary classic. Yep. Like, you never know unless you go out and you do it, man.
Yep.
And if anybody wanted to come and check out your pages, your paranormal investigating team, any video content you post, or even if you do home investigations, because I don't know if I actually asked that during the show, where might people be able to find you on the internet, and how can people get a hold of you?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even though, if I'm not wrong, TikTok next month is getting banned in the U.S.
Has that been confirmed? Because they've been saying that for like 5 years now.
I know. I keep hearing about it. It's more of like, if it's not happening, I'm on TikTok.
I don't think it's going to happen. They've been saying this shit for years.
Yeah, that's what I said, because somebody said, oh, yeah, he's doing it. And I'm like, well, they said that last year, too, and nothing happened.
I'm sure at this point, TikTok's playing along with it. Like, yeah, we're going to be banned because you know how many more downloads they probably get when everybody thinks they're about to get banned?
Yeah.
They're like, if I get it on my phone, they can't get rid of it.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm on everything, especially YouTube, Afterlife Paranormal. Just look for, I wish I had I don't have my card near me, actually, now that I think about it. I am forgetful. But, I don't even have the shirt on. But it is a skull with barbed wire around it.
I'll make sure that I include the logo in the cover art so people will know exactly what to look for.
Yep. If you ever find that logo, that's where I'm under. Like I said, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I need to get better at posting more stuff because I like to live in the moment.
Dude, like, you and me got the same struggle. I run a podcast, but I hate being on social media.
I don't take photos a lot. Like, if I think it's cool, I'll take a photo. Like at the jail here, like, I have a photo of the key to the very front door, and it's like a cartoon-sized key. Like, it's funny to look at. And that's the only thing I have a photo of from that building is that. That one photo is of the key put into the lock in the front door.
See, I have no problem taking pictures of random shit and stuff like that when I'm out on investigations, but I'm just an awkward fuck when I take pictures of myself. So it's like when I go on investigations, try to take pictures of myself, man, it's always awkward as hell. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to show some love for the show, don't forget to smash that follow icon, or you guys can even share this episode or the whole show with a friend through word of mouth. Of course, an awesome way to help the show grow through grassroots. And if anyone would like to get in touch with me for any reason whatsoever, you guys can do so through the email, which is inquiries of all reality podcast@outlook.com, or through social media. Instagram and Facebook are the ones that I'm the most active on. Or you guys can also get a hold of me through the submission form, which is available on the link tree, of course. Or you guys can even call into the hotline, text the hotline if you guys want to, leave a voicemail, whatever you guys want to do. And that number is 313-364-1551. And if you guys have some free time, don't forget to check out some of the awesome friends of the show. I Know Squatch, Snarly Out Natural Products, Cryptotheology, and Big Ape Threads. And our other friends with affiliate links, Dimension Devices, Oregon-ite, and Sticker Mule, with additional discounts and credits available. And more info on that, of course, is available down in the show description. And every single thing that I mentioned throughout the show today is all available on the link tree, which is available down in that show description also. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I hope today's show's connected some dots in your own reality. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good night, everybody.
Reality isn't what it seems. Abductees taking aboard a craft with a tractor beam. Is life a simulation or an astral dream? Aliens travel through black holes in different galaxies. Life is a bizarre odyssey, with a mic talking about philosophy. Well, Bigfoot is stalking campers as a Wendigo walks through the woods of sharpened antlers, using a Ouija board to talk to the dead like a necromancer. There's so many questions and not enough answers. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality. So if you're interested in mysteries and abnormalities, tune in and listen to Inquiries of Our Reality.